Ooh, welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for all of you. I have on Zoom with me right now Jackson Everest, and he's going to be playing in our indie horror film 72 as Sonny O'Toole. He'll also be in Scream Bloody Murder as Dan Sanders and as Toby Harris in ShadowMarsh. And before I say hello to you and how you're doing, I just want to let everybody know, may the 4th be with you. Hey, Jackson, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Everything is going pretty good for me.
Awesome. That's great. And I want to say I thank you so much. We were talking obviously a little bit before we started recording. I want to say thank you for your donation. Obviously, that got you a part on Slasher Scotty and a really killer role in 72. So we're really excited to see what you can do with that. And I'm really grateful you did donate. We can't thank you enough for that.
I'm happy to help. And it's been, you guys have been great right from the get-go. I think before I made the donation, I think I sent you a note and you followed up immediately and then sort of, jumped in. We had a quick conversation and then, I saw what Carl put together and it's just fantastic. So I'm really excited about it. And I think it's going to be, I just hope I can give the character what it needs because it's, it's going to be a pretty powerful couple of scenes.
Absolutely. It really is going to be powerful. Like it's got some intense, mind, quote unquote mind fucks involved. And it's going to be really good. I'm really excited to see what you bring to it. And of course, DJ Panton is also going to be in the scene. And we got a couple of other actors and actresses. So it's going to be really powerful and it's going to be really intense. And I really can't wait to see what you can do with that. So the first question I got for you, so how did you get started in being involved with indie horror films?
So I worked in like corporate America for 20 plus years, and I was very fortunate. I worked for a company that did very well that I had invested in. So I got to retire at a relatively young age, and being retired is kind of exciting for like a week and a half. And then it rains and then you're like, well, I can't go play golf. I can't go hiking. So what am I going to do? And I ended up sort of digging through a bunch of stuff online and was reading about horror films. I love horror films. I try and watch one every single day. And I found an opportunity in a movie called ShadowMarsh, which is the first film I did, to be a cult member. And it was a small part. It wasn't a big donation. I didn't even know that like making a donation was a way to get into a movie. But I did it and it went really well. I had 5 lines. They were all in Latin, which is challenging. I like most folks don't speak Latin. But they actually tweaked it when they realized that none of us spoke Latin and like all the cult members were saying the words differently. And so we got to say some lines in English, but it was also nice because I wore a mask. So like I think it lowers the level of concern or fear or just anxiety you have with sort of that first scene. And then from there, I really enjoyed it and thought it was a great experience and thought, well, I can, I'm going to make this I don't know, kind of a full-time hobby. And the crazy part is I've actually like had some auditions that went pretty well. And I'm up for 2 different parts in indie horror films where I'm not a backer this time. I'm just auditioning and I don't know. I certainly have no talent and minimal skills, but I can read and I don't screw things up too bad, I think is what I have going for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how did you find out about the 72 Indiegogo campaign?
In part, it was Facebook and sort of, it's interesting on Indiegogo how they have a film section, but they never have like all the films that are available. So you sort of flip through and you look for ones that catch your eye. And speaking of catching your eye, the picture on your campaign of the eye is with 72 on it. It caught my attention, certainly. Nice. And I clicked in and started to read through, and the storyline sounded good. You do a little bit of research, and this isn't your first film; it's your second film, so you kind of go through things and see who else is going to be in it, and where's it at in the production process, and the timing of everything, where's it filming, and it all added up, and it all made sense, and then just communicating with you directly, you were great. I thought, well, this is somebody that if I'm going to do it, I want to work with really good people and people that are going to make it a good experience, and it seemed to fit the bill, so I was excited about the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we do truly appreciate it. It's funny that you mentioned the eye, because we just had a new perk that we launched, and like within a day we sold out of it. The first 10 minutes we sold one of the perks, and we had two available. We had like a prop eye that we're going to be using in one of the scenes. And if you sign up for the if you get that perk, you get that prop eyeball that we're going to be using. So
nice.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty clever.
Exciting and gross.
Yep.
Yeah, not to give anything away, but if you want to throw out a perk, I'll sign that gas can.
Awesome.
And
yeah, I will talk to actually. I'll talk to Carl about that. See what he says. It's actually not a bad idea.
I'll sign it, and I'll make sure DJ signs it too.
Awesome. Yes. So me and Carl, we have a meeting sometime this week. It was supposed to be last night, but he wanted to work on the script, and supposed to be tonight, but I told him before 7:30 because my cousin's gonna be. She's my personal trainer, so and we do it over Zoom, so she's gonna be doing that at 7:30 with me, and I don't know how I'm gonna be feeling after that. So I told him maybe 6. If he's free at 6, we can do that. So I can mention it to him because I know what he wants to talk about. What are we gonna do with the funds for Indiegogo? Like what percentages of of what we have so far is gonna go where? And I know a lot of it's gonna go into SFX because that's a major part of the film. Like if this film is not
big
gonna
expense.
Succeed. Yeah, this film will not succeed if we don't have an SFX, a good SFX, believable SFX, and also believable acting. Like those are the two primary forces that are really going to make this movie, basically a ride or die type of thing, like a really good film or a really bad one.
Yeah, well, I think, and what I've read so far, what Carl put together, what you guys put together, it's really well written. And so, a good script is a it's a great place to start from an acting perspective. Like, what you're getting into, and where you're going with it, which helps.
Absolutely. And Carl, he's very organized, very detailed, and that's one reason why I have him as part of my executive team, because he is very organized, you need that with a production team. Like, he wasn't part of our first movie, which made it very disorganized, and we didn't have that great of a director, and like like we had a good cast and crew, but it's just one of those things that we weren't prepared. It was our first movie. We made mistakes, we learned from it, and Carl wasn't an executive until like basically the end of the project. I think the film might have been over when we promoted him. So I'm so glad he's a part of it now, because he wrote the script, he's directing this movie, he's doing the filming, like the camera work of the movie, director of photography, so he's doing a lot of roles for it. And he's really good at all of it. I don't know if you saw our Friday the 13th movie on YouTube, our fan film. It's a short film. It's like maybe 18 minutes or so long, and it's a lot better than the first movie. And Carl did all the director of photography stuff for that and produced the movie as well. And he did a real, like, if you just look at the camera work, it's really good compared to sound. So you can see the difference based on the people you get involved.
Yeah, good DP and good lighting with the right SFX, and you're in business. You have to have everything right to make it a great movie.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize there's a lot more involved in making a movie than just getting a group of your friends together, getting a camcorder, and getting a little bit of lights and that, making it work, because there is a lot involved. And a lot of it is money, and that's where the Indiegogo campaigns come into play. Like, we had an Indiegogo for sound, but it wasn't. We only made like maybe $200 compared to right now. We have, I think it was like almost $2,500 or $2,600 in our raise so far. So, definitely, the Indiegogo has really helped, because we're gonna make the movie whether we reach our goal or not. But the fact is that without people like yourself, like, we wouldn't be. It would be a lot harder to get it made.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Yep. So, what are you looking forward to the most about 72?
Well, like, my scene's a pretty powerful scene, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's going to be an interesting, tough scene to film and to act in, but I like that. I'm excited about that. And I think the story is really good. So when you have that combination, there's a lot to look forward to. And and then for me personally, it's another project. I just started in January, and I think I've got 7 projects booked for this year. Wow. And which is great. And I want to sort of build on my experiences, and really at the end of the day, it's if I can find like good people that I like working with and want to work with more, this isn't, your plan is not to have this be your last film. Right. And, so you find people you like working with, you find people that do good work, and you just keep re-upping. And you guys are doing another movie. I'd love to back it and be involved and jump in. And like the first movie I did, ShadowMarsh, after, I was done filming, I talked to the writer and DP, and actually he was doing the sound on that, a guy named Matt Fessel, and him and Matt Leal, and we already talked about their next project, and sort of through that progress, they expanded them. They're going to add a couple of scenes to the movie. They asked me to come back out and film those as well. So I'm going to play a different character than a cult member, but it's it's because I like them. They're really good guys, and that's what you're looking for. Whether you're a backer or just starting your acting career, it's find people you want to work with that do good work and stick with them.
Absolutely. And we do have another project that it's not in the works yet. I mean, I'm not really writing a script for it yet. I'm waiting a little bit until 72 is finished to see how that comes out. But I know it's going to be, it was supposed to be the sequel to Samhain, but we're now rebooting Samhain, and we're going to keep a lot of the same stuff, but we're also going to be adding stuff. We're going to definitely be doing more of a backstory, more of a story. Mm-hmm. We're going to be tuning some of the characters around, some of the storylines around. So we're actually adding a lot of really impressive death scenes. So, I mean,
awesome.
So that's one thing we would like that we're going to be working on as well. That's been public knowledge for almost a year now. I think it was originally announced that our premiere for the first Samhain was supposed to be a sequel. And then, of course, 72 was originally going to be called Killer Party. But as Carl started writing the script and everything, he's like, you know what? 72 makes more sense now that I'm writing it. And for the reason why is 72 hours of quarantine. So, and it really, it makes sense because of what we're going to in today's world with this pandemic. So
yeah, people are a little more familiar with quarantining now than they used to be. Absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. So how did you get involved with Scream Bloody Murder?
I was filming a movie called Christmas Slasher down in southern Texas, outside of San Antonio, and just as sort of I don't know, my personality, but I just volunteered to help with anything else they needed to do when I wasn't filming my scenes, and so they asked me if I would make a couple runs to the airport and pick people up that were flying in, and I picked up a guy named Mike Ferguson. He's like actually a really hot actor right now. And he's in everything. Picked him up at the airport and we really hit it off. And he asked me if I'd heard about Scream Bloody Murder yet. And I had, because it's Sean Phillips, it's his directorial debut. Nice. And then he was the next person I picked up at the airport. So Sean and I had 45 minutes to an hour in the car, and we talked about the potential roles that might be a fit for me, and we really hit it off. And he's a great guy. I kind of joked with him. I was like, I was really hoping I would pick him up and he would be like awful or rude or mean, because like his cool duder videos and all of his stuff he's done. And I mean, he's in one out of every 3 indie horror films made. Right. But he's just a really genuine, down to earth guy. That was, he was excited about the project, excited about directing, and you said I was playing Dan Sanders. I'm actually playing Dean Sanders. I'm the dean of a cheerleading camp. Oh, okay. So it's a role I was born to play. Right. But it's the biggest role I've had so far. I've got a fair amount of lines, and it's going to be some really funny stuff. And like the cast is shaping up to be just phenomenal. They just added Scout Taylor Compton, who's from Rob Zombie Halloween movies, and you know, she's starring in the movie. So it's really exciting, and it's, you know, it's a bigger role than what I normally aspired to go for. But you know, Sean's so great to work with, and such a good person that, you know, I know he'll take good care of me. I know he'll, you know, Will's writing a script that will, you know, that won't be, you know, I'm not going to have a 4-page, you know, dialogue where where it's an emotional scene. It's not that type of movie. But it, you know, it's stuff I can do, and it'll be a lot of fun, and
Awesome.
I'm really looking forward to being in it.
That's awesome. It really is. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I heard about Scout Taylor Compton being involved, and that's really exciting because I mean, I like the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. Obviously, I'm an '80s baby. Like, I was born in '89, but I love the '80s horror slashers. But so like the original always has a place in my heart. But I did
Yeah,
love what Scout Taylor Compton did. You know, making Laurie Strode her own and different from what John Carpenter made her. You know what I mean? It really showed it showed her acting ability to make it into her own role, because you
yeah.
know, filling Jamie Lee Curtis's shoes is not easy.
It's an iconic role that everybody knows, and you're right. She made it her own, and she just, I mean, she killed it.
Yeah,
It was really, really well done.
absolutely.
And you know, like, you start talking about, like, you know, who do you want to work with, like dream jobs. Like, I would play any part in any Rob Zombie movie,
Right.
because they're you know, they're just really, really good.
Absolutely. So how did you get involved with ShadowMarsh?
It was really through Indiegogo, and I reached out to Matt Fessel, and connected with him, and he was really genuine and easy to talk to. And you know, I said, it's my first movie ever. The last time the last time I did any type of performing was like 30 years ago, doing some stand up, and I hosted a TV show, and I did all the commercials for the TV show, and all that kind of stuff. But you know, that was, I was like a kid still in college, and so he was like, no, you'll be great, and it'll, you know, we'll make it easy for you, and you know, it's gonna be real straightforward. And so I found it through Indiegogo, and
Nice.
read through it, and I, you know, I like the storyline, and I actually was very fortunate. They had just finished a movie called Hacked, and I watched it, and I was like, they made it during quarantine, so like almost every scene is just one person. Um, and I thought it was a really good movie, and I was like, well, geez, these are people I want to work with, and jumped right in.
Absolutely. That's really cool. I mean, is ShadowMarsh out yet?
No, they're in post right now.
Okay.
We're gonna film. So I'm gonna meet with them in June to film just a couple more scenes. But I think they're targeting probably end of August, early September,
Nice.
and to you know, roll it out. And you know, like most people making horror films, they want to get them out maybe mid-September to early
Yeah,
October, or get them out for Halloween and get people watching.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So
everyone's got the same timeline.
right. So do you go like the different states for these films? Like, you know, for example, if you live I don't know where you live, but if you live, say, in Mississippi, for example, like, do you go to like Texas and Arkansas, like wherever they film?
Yeah, I'll go any place. And it's, you know, I'm fortunate. I don't have a full-time job. I do some consulting work just to, you know, just to have something to do. But like, you know, retiring, like really retiring,
Yeah.
and having the ability to go any place, anytime. I did a project for a Showtime series in Atlanta, and I was a featured extra. So I had a line when I got there. The director cut the line,
Oh,
which is fine. It's the director that did Bird Box,
oh,
who
okay.
was, so it was really exciting to like work with her. She's a little
Mhm.
scary, maybe a little intimidating, but yeah, but she was, I mean, like, she knows what she's doing. And so that casting company called me yesterday and said, hey, we're shooting Billions in upstate New York. Can you be there tomorrow with a negative COVID test? And I was like, you know, I can't. Give me 2 days notice to get a COVID test and to get to upstate New York. But you know, like, I'll do any place, do anything, go any place if it's, you know, if it's good people and a good, you know, a good opportunity. And
Absolutely.
so, you know, then Billions is a great show. I wish I could do it. And I told him, like, if there's, you know, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, give me a call. I'll give me 48 hours notice and I'll be there.
Absolutely. So if you could choose one actor and one actress, you could pick a male and a female to work with. Who would it be and why?
So if it could be anybody, Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he's just like, he just has such an infectious personality. He's just, I don't know. He's not the most talented actor, but maybe he is. I don't know. But he seems like just a great person. And I love Deadpool, Deadpool 2, the Deadpool Christmas movie. When I was a kid, I was watching him I wasn't a kid, I think I was in college, but Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Shop, which he cracked me up in that. In the horror genre, it'd be Rob Zombie. I'd love to be in one of his movies in any part. That'd be fantastic. From an actress standpoint, do you know who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is?
I don't.
So she did a show called Fleabag, and it's on probably Amazon Prime or Netflix. And it's one of my favorite shows ever. It's just fantastic. And then she wrote and produced a Hulu show. It's not a Hulu show, it's a BBC show, but it's on Hulu, called Killing Eve, which is really good.
I heard of that.
I think she's incredibly talented, and I'd love to work with her or anything. From the horror genre, which isn't really horror, but Rona Mitra, who replaced Kate Beckinsale in the Underworld movies, there's something about her that I would certainly enjoy spending time with her, I'm guessing.
That's awesome. So which horror movie is your favorite and why?
That's a tough one, because like you said, like, you're an 80s baby. Like, the first scary movie I ever saw was Salem's Lot, and I had nightmares about it for a long, long time. Nice. The one that I would say like stuck with me was the original Nightmare on Elm Street, because it seemed plausible. You get in your dreams and you can't get them out, and don't go to sleep like that. When you're, I don't know, 15 years old, like, that sticks in your head. Like, and it's happening to people that were my age, so it sort of added up. There's a foreign film called Audition, which is just fantastic. It's got like this torture scene that will stick with you. I got, the list is too long. It Follows is such a slow burn of a horror film, but I don't even know if it's a horror film per se, but it's really good. For like jump scares, The Descent is fantastic. And then the scene in Hereditary where the little girl meets her end. Like, I was watching that in my basement, and like paying attention, but not 100% paying attention. And that happened, and it startled me. I backed it up and watched it again, backed it up, watched it again. I was like, well, this movie just took a turn that I was not anticipating. But so yeah.
That's awesome. So which like horror subgenre do you like the most? Like, are you into slashers, paranormal, suspense?
It's all over the place. Like, I really love like sort of the thriller horror movies that are there's some foundation that could be true or real. But then, like, I've seen Sinister a couple of times, and it's really well done. The Conjuring movies, they're all fantastic. So I don't really stick to any genre, but I think that in part is because I literally try to watch a movie every single day.
Right.
So you can't just stick to one genre if you're, every day you're watching something. Right.
My go-to is obviously slasher. My first horror film I've ever seen was at 6 years old, Friday the 13th, Part 7 of the New Blood. I'm actually friends with Laura Park Lincoln, and she yelled at me about that. She's like, I would never let my children watch my movie at 6 years old.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. That's probably a little too young.
Yeah, well, listen to this story. I usually tell all my Friday the 13th guests that I have on about this, and I'll tell you this one. This is really like coincidental and very scary. So I was maybe 10-ish, 11-ish at the time, and I was watching, I believe it was Friday the 13th. I want to say Part 4, I want to say. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but it was definitely Friday the 13th, but I'm pretty sure it was Part 4. And it was a Friday the 13th that day. So on TV, they were having a Friday the 13th marathon. And
Sure.
it was, it was a thunderstorm out in our area on a Friday the 13th. Like, how spooky can that be? And my parents are in the other room, whatever. I don't know what they were doing, but they were in the other room, like, just, I don't know if they were like cleaning up or whatever they were doing. But anyways, I was watching in the living room on Friday the 13th. And next thing you know, Jason is taking like that electrical box or whatever, and he's trying to rip it off and turn the power off. So he does that. Right when he turned their power off, our power went off at the same time.
Oh my God.
Exact same time. So
how high did you jump?
I jumped so high, like I literally ran into the room that my parents were in. And I go, Mommy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. They're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, Jason's coming for me. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I was watching Friday the 13th and he turned the power off and our power went off. He's like, that's why you don't watch scary movies.
Yes. The funny thing is that if he actually was coming, of course your parents would believe you. Like that happens in every movie. There's something bad gonna happen. No, there's not. You're making it up.
And plus, I'm a 10-year-old kid at the time, and when you're a kid, when you're like, actually a kid, like nobody's gonna believe you about something like that. Like, for example, Child's Play. Nobody believes the kid that Chucky's really alive, and I mean, who would believe a 10-year-old boy that a doll is possessed?
Yes.
Like, who's gonna believe a 10-year-old boy that Jason Voorhees is coming after them?
Yeah, because the power went out. Of course not.
Exactly.
Nobody believes that.
It's just so silly. But I mean, that's the premise of all the horror movies. The adults don't believe the kids, and then the kids look like they're crazy, and next thing you know, the kids are actually correct.
It is even when it's an adult, like they try and explain to their friend, and their friend's like, "Yeah, you're losing it. Let's get you to some sort of institution."
The mom got bit by Chucky, and she tried to explain to the cop, and he's like, "You're crazy. You're just insane."
Yes, your doll bit you. Okay.
Exactly. So, and you already answered about what movie got you to start in becoming a horror fan. I believe you said it was Salem's Lot, right?
Yeah, which is like an old school vampire movie.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in it where like the little brother becomes a vampire and like flies up to the window. And I have a little brother, and something happened one night. He got scared and he came into my room, climbed into my bed. I freaked out, started screaming, kicking him, pushing him out of the bed. And it was probably like 2 years after I saw the movie, but I was pretty sure that he is a vampire and coming to get me. And the other thing from that movie that really sticks to me, I remember the song that was on the radio when the movie ended, and my dad set me up to go to bed, and I had a little clock radio, and there was a song playing. And to this day, if I hear that song on the radio, I get sort of like just the heebie-jeebies. I'm like, oh, something bad's gonna happen.
Another story I have, I told this on the Dinah Manoff who I interviewed the other day. I believe it was Saturday. With her, and she obviously played Maggie Peterson in Child's Play. The I guess the aunt or whatever, the best friend or whatever, that fell down. She got hit with the toy hammer and fell out the window all over the ground. And I was telling her the story that when I was younger, I was about, how old was I? Like, I was probably like maybe 11 or 12 ish. My cousin, who was younger than me, she was like 6 or 7 at the time. I said, "Do you want to watch a movie with me?" And she goes, "Yeah, sure. Let's watch a movie." And what movie are we gonna watch, Scotty? I said, "How about we watch Toy Story?" It's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I would love to watch Toy Story. I love that movie." Like, awesome. So I put it in, and she's looking at it. She's like, "This doesn't look like Toy Story to me." I said, "Oh, there's a lot of toys in it. You'll see.
You'll love it."
It was Child's Play, and she was traumatized from it. She couldn't sleep for a while. I actually told my aunt Candy, who's her mom, about me telling Dinah the story, and my cousin Destiny was with her, and Dinah said, "Tell Destiny if she needs any therapy, she's here to talk." So I told Candy that, and she told Destiny, and Destiny goes, "Tell her I need therapy. I'm still terrified of Chucky." But it backfired on me because I got afraid of Chucky after that moment, because I only seen Child's Play once. And I like way years before, and it didn't really stick with me. But this time it did, and I couldn't see a Chucky doll like for years. Like I was.
It's a surprisingly good movie that people
people
sort of undervalue, like how actually scary it was.
Yeah,
because it's a silly concept, but it was well, and they made a bunch of them, and they got kind of worse and worse. But it's a good movie.
Yeah, then we went into Chucky and his bride, and then they end up consummating their marriage, and then they end up having a doll child,
a doll baby. Yes, yeah. Jennifer Tilly was great.
Yep, Jennifer Tilly is the bomb. Like, she's amazing. I love her.
Yeah.
And I would love to interview her one day, but she definitely was great. I did interview Alex Vincent, who played Little Andy, and I interviewed Christina Lee, who played Kyle in part 2. And yeah, I interviewed
Nice.
quite a few people from there. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I interviewed Alex Vincent, that's what I was going to say. I ended up doing my introduction. Welcome, to Slasher Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I have on the phone with me right now. And I mean, Alex Vincent, he said, I asked him how he's doing. He's like, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Scotty. And you were going to call me Andy, weren't you? I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like, don't worry. I get it all the time.
It happens.
It happens. So the next question I got for you, so what advice do you have for any aspiring indie film fan that would like to take a stab at becoming an actor but don't know where to start?
So honestly, the easiest thing to do, and I didn't do this, is a lot of movies work vloggers into a lot of movies these days. They'll work vloggers into the script and make it a viable part of the movie. And it's a relatively inexpensive way to do something from home that you can look. If you want to have 50 takes, nobody cares, and because you're just going to send one in that's going to be your final version that you approve, that'll be used in the film. And like, funny story, the first movie I did was ShadowMarsh. We got they did the blocking, they did the lighting. We're filming. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, camera set, lighting is good. Are we ready? Okay. And I start with my lines, and Matt, the director, is like, a lot of people wait till I say action, but you were off to a good start. And it was just so nice about it. But it's like horrifically embarrassing, and you feel like an idiot, and there's a whole bunch of people standing around, and you got to start from scratch. But like, that's the easiest thing to do to get in, is find a movie, find people that they're doing their second movie, their third movie, their fifth movie. Find people that respond if you reach out to them or try and connect with them, and then start with something like a vlogger where you can do it from home. And if it you can show it to 8 of your friends or your parents or your next door neighbor and say, hey, do I look okay? Is this all right? Like, I look at myself on camera and I think, geez, I'm really look bald today. Like, like, so I don't get a lot of calls for leading men, but you can do it over and over and over again until you think it looks right, and then submit it, and then you're in the movie. So I think that's an easy way to get started. Honestly, if you're on the fence, just becoming a backer and just doing $5, $50, go for something bigger for an associate producer credit. I think that the advice that I got when I was on the set of ShadowMarsh was, a lot of times there'll be a perk where you can shadow the crew for the day. And that type of perk where you can just kind of be there and see what happens and help and learn and see what it's like for the actors and actresses and what they're doing to prep. And then you'll feel a little more confident walking onto set the next time out. Or do what I do, which is, take a part, get your lines. They're all in Latin, learn how to say them based on Google Translate, and show up ready to go.
And one thing to remember about, even when you're on set, if you make a mistake, don't be embarrassed about it, because that's the best part, is making the mistakes, because the blooper reel afterwards is so much funnier.
Yeah,
I love the blooper reels.
There is, and that, I think, is the other sort of component to it, is that in this space, sort of the independent horror film space, people are pretty forgiving and pretty jovial and pretty nice all the time. I have yet to see anybody get all worked up because somebody couldn't get their lines out. I've seen someone that couldn't get their lines out, and they just said, well, how would you say that? I said, well, then say it that way, because the point of every scene is to get from point A to point B, and you're just moving the story along. So you want to make it your own. you don't want to take it upon yourself on your first film to just rewrite the script for how you think it should be written. I don't think that would be appreciated, but you know, and then I think the other piece, and this was advice that I got from a guy named Timothy Schuyler Dunnigan. Try and be normal. Try not to interfere. When they're rolling, be quiet. Don't be a jerk. Don't ask for anything extra. Like, be a normal person. Treat people with respect, and you know, do your best work. And
Absolutely.
and not everybody does that. I've been on a handful of sets. On that set I was in Atlanta for the First Wives, the Showtime series. Like, a lot, like, we're just extras and featured extras, or background actors, I think is what they refer to them on set. But like, people were complaining the whole time. It's like, well, you sign up for this. We're not getting paid hardly anything. So maybe make it a good experience. Don't complain. But like, coming onto your set, be a good person, be nice, be respectful, know what you're there to do, and
Absolutely.
do your best.
Absolutely.
And listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm not giving Carl what he's looking for, he's going to tell me what he's looking for, and I try and do that.
Exactly. And one advice I got, this is before Gravestone Films became to what it, became a thing. I worked for another like indie production company type thing out of Ashland. His name, it was with my 11th grade English teacher. Now I was out in high school at the time, obviously. And his name is Chaz Klimchak. That's his stage name. His real name, Charlie Rice. I worked for him, and it originally started when I have a couple books published, and one of them was on Friday the 13th, and I ended up promoting that on a show. And then he asked me if I wanted to be a part of the production company, and it wasn't really to make movies or anything like that. It was more of like a movie review type of thing, like kind of do your own thing. So I had my own thing called Scotty Culture Shock. I'm a weird person in real life. Like, I really like to have fun, be goofy and all that, but for some reason, when I was in front of the camera, and I'm good at being goofy and even in front of the camera, but I was supposed to be, I wasn't supposed to be Scotty McCoy me. I was supposed to be Scotty McCoy, the host of the show. And I couldn't, there was like certain lines in my script that had to be like weird and like emphasize it. And I really couldn't do it because I was like embarrassed because of, the people like behind the scenes and doing it on camera and everything like that. For whatever reason, I was so embarrassed to not be myself, but to be this character. And he gave me a really good piece of advice. And I'll definitely pass this along to everybody, is that when you're on set, you're going to feel embarrassed. It's a produced material. You're being a character. Embrace it. Embrace that character, because you're signing up to be this person. You're not yourself. You're doing a produced role. So let it slide out as natural as it's supposed to be. And even to this day, I still have difficulty. Like, I'm going to be playing James Kreiser in 72, and he's like one of the main roles, but like not like one of the main group roles. Like, I don't think I'm seen till like halfway through the movie or something like that. But or something like that. But anyways, he's a even like in sound, when I played the main nerd in sound, and it was hard for me to be that character at times. It was hard for me to be goofy on set and be somebody that I'm not. And I always think of that advice he gave me. It's a produced role. So embrace the produced role and go right into character and show, and just be that person. Pretend you're no longer Scotty McCoy. You are Jordan Hathaway, or you are X, Y, and Z, whoever you're playing. Be that person and step foot into their shoe, what's on the paper. And sometimes it's easier said than done, but that's the advice he gave me. And when he told me that, every time I think of that, I take a deep breath. I think and then whatever the name is, James Kreiser, and then I jump right into that position, and it works. It always works for me.
And I think that so the advice that I got, and I was actually driving to the set of ShadowMarsh, and I called a buddy of mine from California that's an actor, and I was like, just give me like, and he's taken all of Vincent Chase's acting classes, and he's been doing it for years, and he's done some good stuff. And he's like I can give you 3 words, and you just remember these 3 words, and you'll be fine. Don't be. Don't say the lines. Don't do what the character is doing. Be the character. Be the lines. Like just be it. And you're going to be a cult member. Be a cult member. Talk like cult members talk. I was like, I don't know how. I've never been in a cult. And he's like, you've seen movies with cults, talk like the way they talk, you know, use like a deeper voice when you're calling out, like try and make your voice boom. You know, but if I'm playing some some stoner, I know what stoners look like and act like. I don't really have the look, but but I can play the part, just mimic that, and try and get into it as best you can, and find something that is you, that's in that part, and then utilize that. And it can be really, really difficult, or it can come really naturally. And it depends on the script and the character and the director.
And don't be afraid to do your homework. Laura Park Lincoln told me that and she says this in a lot of interviews too, but she told me this, that when she was, before she, like, even when she auditioned for the role, when she got the part for Tina in Friday the 13th Part 7, the character's telekinetic. She has telekinetic powers. So she went to see a psychic. She researched telekinesis. She did all this stuff so she knows what the character is supposed to do. It's easy to say and see it on the paper and see what you're supposed to do. That's another thing to actually perform it the way that it actually, is supposed to be performed. So it's not, so it looks like how it really would be, and not come off as, well, that's not how telekinesis really works. Why is she doing it that way? She's researching and doing her work, going to see psychics, doing this, doing that, so she can actually study the material. So what she sees on the paper tells her to do, but it's not going to tell her how to tilt her head or how to look. She's doing it because that's what the studying tells her, how to do the facial movements, how to how to have her body posture, and how to do all that stuff. That's what the research will do. So definitely do your research on any character you have, especially if they're a specific character, whether they're a stoner. I'm not saying go get high, but if you're a stoner, watch videos of people that are stoned and see how they talk, see how if you don't know, because not everybody does marijuana and all that. So if you don't know, then do your research, watch a YouTube video on how people talk when they're high, just stuff like that.
Yeah, well, to get ready for your movie, I'm literally spending 4 hours a day tied to a tree. So
awesome.
I'll be good to go by July. Yes, 4 hours every day. I'm hoping for nice weather.
Absolutely. So so what about any advice for people that are donors that want to back indie horror Indiegogo crowdfunding campaigns? Any advice for them?
There's a ton of opportunities, and my suggestion would be find some of the Facebook groups that are promoting and supporting the campaigns. You'll see some campaigns that get more love than others, and the ones that are getting more love are probably like filmmakers that people want to be working with, that do good work, and the ones that don't get a ton of love maybe are people don't like them that much. Right. So the first one that I came across, the very first one that I came across when I was doing my research, where it was a movie the Mahal brothers were doing out of Vegas, and like I was blown away that they're raising a couple $100,000 with their movies. And so I read everything I could. I watched all their movies that are out, that are available to see, and was really impressed with sort of the scale at which they've grown to work. And it seems like their movies, if you watch them in order, are getting better and better as they go. Better script, better effects, better everything as they progress. So like, I think if you immerse yourself in it, you'll come to your own conclusions. Like, I haven't done a Mahal movie, and I don't know if they're right for me. Like, I think I'm better off with like a movie like 72 or ShadowMarsh or Christmas Slasher, or Scream Bloody Murder, and where it's more in my wheelhouse. And I think from my perspective, probably more, I'll just feel better about it. I don't need, and it's funny because like everyone talks about, well, if you're going to do that, get a producer credit also. I don't really need producer credits. Like I don't really, it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't really care about that. I just like the idea of being in the movies. And it's sort of what we talked about at the very beginning, and it goes in the opposite way of sort of my advice. Like, I don't really want to be a vlogger because I want some direction. I want someone to sort of drive me to where I want to get to. But the other piece to it is like, I just backed a movie for some filmmaker she's I don't know, from somewhere in Europe, and it's a documentary on Stephen King films, and love Stephen King films. They're just, I mean, there's I love the books. It's funny because I like, my kids asked, like, I was watching the movie It, and realized I never finished the book because it's just so much. Like I think I've read it like 3 times, and I've gotten to like page 500, 600, somewhere in there, but I've never been able to finish it. But the movie does a good job, so I'm good there. And but if you can find projects that you believe in, then make a contribution. And we talked about this earlier. $5 can make the difference between enough blood or not enough blood.
Absolutely.
And if there's 25 people trying to figure out, well, should I give $5 or $10 or just click off? Geez, just do 5, do 10, do whatever you can do, because my $5 on 15 different projects can make a difference for people like you that want to make your second film better than your first, and your third film better than your second, and just keep raising the bar for yourself. And I don't know a lot of people that can't swing $5, $10, $25. I know people that can't do 100 or 200 or 500. But do what you can, because you're going to make such a difference for the people that are doing something that is so creative. And Blair Witch was made for like $8, and it's percentage wise, I think it's still the highest grossing film in the history of film, percentage wise, because they literally made it for nothing, and it I don't know, did like $1 billion. So like, know that you might be contributing to that, and it's kind of exciting to have your name attached to it forever. I helped make that movie.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, and if for whatever reason you can't contribute something as small as $5, it costs nothing to share it, because
nothing to share it.
One share from you can equal 20 $5 donations from your friends that might want to be a part of it, that didn't know about it until you shared it. So, and also to back off on like to go off on what you said about like, if somebody doesn't have a lot of money like to it, that they might not be that good to work with. You might not, I mean, that might be the case, but also don't do your research on them. You'd be like, this is a good premise, but I don't know about these filmmakers and they're not making a lot of money. So do your research on them. Ask around. There's people like Noelle Berger and Angel Bradford and Matt Anderson, Matt Burns, Jimmy Presley, people that have backed a ton of campaigns and are big in the indie horror community, that will know if these people are trustworthy or if they're scam artists. Because there was that one campaign, Once Upon a Nightmare, that promised everything under the sun, including the kitchen sink, aka Kane Hodder, and being like scene with Kane Hodder, but it was all a lie. So things like that can happen. And that's where your reputation comes into play, because reputation, not just in the indie horror industry, but reputation in general, is a big thing. Because once you taint your reputation and have a bad reputation, then it's hard to get that trust back and to get good, get that sense of trust back. So definitely,
100%.
So definitely, like, reach out to people that would know, and if they don't know, I'm sure they would, swing you in the right direction of who would know.
Well, and I think that's as silly as it seems, Facebook's a real, it's a very easy way to sort of check, so I think after the first project, every movie I've considered, like I'll shoot Mike Ferguson a text and say, hey, do you know anything about this person or that person? And he always answers, and he's a busy guy, and he's in a lot of stuff, and working 7 days a week, but he'll always take time to answer a text, and as would I. If somebody, you can find me on Facebook and say, hey, you worked with with these guys on this movie, how was it?
Right.
It was a great experience. And I'll be honest, if it was a bad experience, I'd tell you. But Christmas Slasher was a lot of fun. And Destiny is amazing and goofy and nutty and awesome, all sort of at the same time, but it makes for a fun set. And so, she's got another project in the works. I want to be part of it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And also reaching out to the filmmaker. If you reach out to the filmmaker like Mike and myself, and we respond back right away, And it doesn't have to be like immediately after even like, but when you have that conversation, it builds the trust level, and you can be like, well, I got a sense of this person's personality and what they're of, because you could tell if they're like kind of like, they don't care about it, or if they actually
Here's a link to the campaign. Thank you.
Huh?
Here's a link to the campaign. Thank you.
Absolutely. Or if or it's like, you talk a little bit about it. We talk about it. You could tell we care, especially by our shout outs. We don't just shout it out on the Gravestone Films fan page. I do like, not really a generic one. It's not like, hey, thank you or whatever. We give like a very positive, thank you, like you rock, or, thank you. Wouldn't be able to do this without your help type of thing. And then I share it on my personal page, with different text, and Carl does his with a more creative personal one and tags them in it. Because we don't want it to be all the same, generic text like thank you, you rock and everything. We do that as our main one, and then Carl will do his own and like, make them feel more personal. I'll do my own to make them feel happy and, to make them feel happy. So technically for $5, you're not just getting a shout out, you're getting a shout out on the fan page, and you're getting, a shout out from Carl on his with a very cool, funny message that'll make you smile, and then another message from me on my personal page. So you're getting 3 shout outs for $5, and that's just the the $5 one. And then you can get like, the $10 or $250, and every single perk we have has a shout out. So you're always going to get a shout out. And also to let everybody know, you don't have to donate, to be in the movie just to get your name in the end credits. You can get $10, get your name in the end credits, but that also includes an IMDb credit for a special thanks.
Yeah.
So
that adds up. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It really does. And like it makes it so much easier also for me to find people that are donating to us, because I see, oh, they're part of this movie because they donated to them, or they've been a part of this. So I know who it is, because these movies are, are pretty big in the indie horror fame. And I know these names, like, and I know that they helped. And we have some pretty big people helping us. And I'm very thankful for every single one of them. I don't care if it's $5, $250, or $50, whatever it is, we are more than happy to include it, because like we were talking about earlier, $5 can make a difference between, oh crap, now we have to cut the scene down because we don't have enough blood to shoot it, because we didn't have $5 to do it.
Well, and I think that the way you guys respond, and there's a level of appreciation, and a willingness to, like I reached out and said, can I name my own character? And it's named after a couple of buddies of mine, and so they're going to get a kick out of it. And actually, after reading the script, I wish I would have chosen a different name, because it's Sonny O'Toole's a bit of a goofy name, and I should have gone with Mike Lipson. Mike Lipson asked first if I could use his name, and I didn't. But I didn't. I thought it would just be a name on IMDb, not in the script. But it's going to be awesome. But I mean, that's a big part of it, is that the level of appreciation, it's rewarding as a backer, but then at the same time, like I'm sure for like you and Carl, it's rewarding as filmmakers that people genuinely believe in what you're doing and want to help. And that has to spur you to do more, better, bigger things.
Right. Because we had some people that judged us based on sound, and that hurts us because it was our first movie. Of course, we're going to make mistakes. We never made a movie before. We're going to make those mistakes. We're not experienced at the time, but we learned from that. And then we have people like yourself and a lot of other people that believed in us and didn't judge us based on sound. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to give you that chance, because you really have a new team. You have it's hard to go wrong though when you have a great cast. Like you have a DJ Patton as part of the cast. We have, yourself. We have all these other people as the cast. Angel Bradford. Just having some amazing people that are a part of the cast that are big in the indie horror industry. Chris Ridings and all that. Like that shows that they're involved. So people are gonna if they're involved, this is gonna be pretty good, because we know what they've been a part of and we've seen them in work, so we know they can act. It's not like a bunch of unknown people that we don't know. And it's not like the 80s where you can have a bunch of unknown actors in every Friday the 13th movie, because we know they're not there for the unknown people for the Friday the 13th movie. They're there for Jason to kill those unknown people.
Right.
That's what they're there for. So the last question I got for you, do you have any other films that are in the works that you would like to promote to the listening and viewing audience?
So 72 obviously is it's going to be great. I'm really excited about it. I am auditioning for The Hag Witch. and they have an Indiegogo campaign going on right now, and there's some great perks in there. I think I'm going to be playing a Russian mobster in a movie called The Ghost City of Insurrection. And they don't have an Indiegogo campaign yet, but I think they'll probably launch one maybe in early June. I already did They See You. That was a quick kill scene. By the way, if it's your first movie, a kill scene's a great place to start. You show up, you stand there, they put makeup on you, they cover you in blood, and then you get to go home. My suggestion would be put some sort of blanket or sheet in your car ahead of time. So it was fun walking into the hotel at 2:00 in the morning with 2 slash wounds on my neck, covered from head to toe in blood, and still wearing those clothes. And like the guy at the front desk was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I was in a movie." And I just went up to my room and showered, and everything was good. But ShadowMarsh should be coming out later this year. Christmas slasher, a little bit more filming to do. Scream Bloody Murder, we start filming that next Tuesday or Wednesday. Right. Really excited about that. Just a phenomenal cast. So yeah, it's awesome. That's the stuff that I have going on. But my goal is to continue to build this and at some point celebrate my 100th film, not my 10th film.
Absolutely. And one thing I could say is if you want to have a really fun time especially with the cashier, this didn't happen to me. This was my executives, Carl and Amanda. They had to pick up some stuff for a Friday the 13th fan film that we filmed. You go to Walmart, buy a machete, duct tape, and rope. You'll have a fun time. And awesome. I went to our local grocery store, and I had like 9 bottles of I think it was corn syrup, and like 10 boxes or whatever of red dye. And they're like, what do you need all this for? I'm like, oh, I'm about to kill somebody. I'm about to slit their throat or stab them or whatever. Like, what? I'm like, it's a movie. It'll
be fine.
It'll be fine. Yeah. Nobody's gonna die. But it's pretty interesting though. I wish I was there when they bought that machete, rope, and duct tape, because I guarantee you that cashier was probably thinking somebody's gonna need some help.
Yeah, let's get a license plate number just to be safe.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I thank you, Jackson, for joining me.
Yeah, I'm very excited and happy to do it, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And again, I appreciate your contribution to us. It was really, really, it was really nice, and we really appreciate it. We really thank you for that. And of course, for those that want to see 72 and want to back it, Indiegogo, you can find the link on our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/gravestonefilms. We have it there. We have a new perk out. We have one of them left where you can have a character named after your real name. So that's pretty exciting. And then we have, of course, we start filming that in July. We're not sure of the date yet. We're aiming at July 10th, but it would depend on everybody's filming schedules. So we're still looking into that. We're trying to finish the script first. The script is basically done. We're just, tweaking things and adding things based on our donors, because we got so many donations of people that want to be in the movie that we actually have to insert them in. And because we're inserting them in, we have to, add scenes in and remove some things, and there's a lot of tweaking we have to do. But we're looking at having that done by next week, and then after that, we have a couple locations that we're scouting, and we have 2 months or so left until we're going to be starting production. So definitely support us and like the Greystone Films fan page to keep updated, and of course ShadowMarsh, keep updated with them. You can find them probably on Facebook as well, and as well as Scream Bloody Murder and all the other indie films that Jackson's a part of. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to me. Give me a subscription. It takes a second to do. And of course, if you're listening to the audio versions on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, OpenBox, CastBox, Verbal Breaker, Listen Notes, and all the other podcasting platforms out there, give me a review, a rate, a comment, whatever you can do on there as well. Thank you. And thank you again, Jackson, for joining me. It's been an honor.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Scotty. Have a great day.
All right. Yep, you do the same. Bye.